Which Spider-Man movie is going to get the number 1 spot? Let's begin the ranking. Hello everybody, and welcome back to my channel, Lifestyle Critic. I hope you're having a brilliant day. So I'm sure you can tell by now, given all of the Spider-Man No Way Home videos that I have released, I am a massive Spider-Man fan. And given the fact that we've just got a brand new Spider-Man movie, I thought it's the perfect time to do a ranking of all of the live action and animation movies within the Spider-Man brand that have been released so far. I am going to preface this by saying that my list is a little bit controversial, so I'm going to say that up front because you might be a little bit surprised in where certain movies fit within this ranking. I would also love to hear what your ranking is, so please let me know in the comment section below. And as there are 9 movies, we are going to start at number 9. So in at number 9 is Spider-Man 3. I mean, the director Sam Raimi himself has said that this movie is a little bit of a mess. I mean, I did actually really like Topher Grace's portrayal and representation of the Eddie Brock character. I know Venom was a little bit of a mess, but I did actually really like Peter versus Eddie. I thought all of those scenes were really cool. I think the Sandman did have potential, but this movie ultimately was just really disjointed and really wasn't as good as the brilliant predecessors, namely Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2, which is why Spider-Man 3 unfortunately is in at number 9. So in at number 8 is Into the Spider-Verse. Now I know this entry is probably going to be the most controversial. Now don't get me wrong, I do absolutely love Miles Morales, and I loved all of the time-traveling multiverse stuff that was happening in this movie. The group of Spider-Verse characters was really great, and probably the success of that movie is what encouraged them and motivated them to actually do what they did do in No Way Home. So, you know, this movie is really great. I just feel like it's a little bit too overhyped, and I just feel like the storyline could have been so much better. I am really hopeful that Across the Spider-Verse will be significantly better, and I am really looking forward to Miles Morales eventually making his live-action debut. But as far as this movie is concerned, I was just hoping and expecting a little bit more from it, given how overhyped it was. So in at number 7 is Spider-Man Homecoming, which was a decent first solo outing for Tom Holland's version of Spider-Man. Pretty light-hearted movie, and I really liked how this Spider-Man is truly linked in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and they really were able to pull on all of those strings. I absolutely love Robert Downey Jr. being a bit of a mentor supporting role in Iron Man, and I absolutely love that relationship between these two characters. And you can also see Peter's heart breaking when Tony Stark eventually died, and they planted a lot of those seeds in this movie, so for that reason it is really great. I just feel like other movies, similarly to Into the Spider-Verse, are just a lot stronger than these two movies were. So in at number 6 is the first Amazing Spider-Man movie. Now I am a massive Andrew Garfield fan. I think contrastingly he is super underrated, and the whole Amazing Spider-Man universe is so underappreciated. I loved all of the twists that they did in this movie in terms of giving Peter Parker a bit of a darker world to be in, and I think the chemistry between him and Emma Stone, namely Gwen Stacy, and with Peter Parker, I feel like that relationship, no other relationship has been as brilliant in Spider-Man movies, in superhero movies, and generally in movies. I feel like these two totally were brilliant, and you could totally believe their relationship. And when Gwen Stacy eventually died in the second Spider-Man movie, it really did break your heart because you've literally been with them in such a believable relationship. And also, this movie had some awesome sequences. I mean, that train sequence with Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man just apologizing for beating everyone up unintentionally was really great. All of the rivalry with this version of Flash Thompson, by the way, this was my favorite version of Flash Thompson across all of the movies, was absolutely phenomenal. And like I said, just this universe was just really great in terms of how much of a darker, edgier space it was. And it was just really cool. The only reason that it's not higher up in this list is that the other ones that are going to come up soon are just a little bit stronger, and I just feel like from a villain point of view, Lizard wasn't as brilliant as the other villains have been, but you know, this movie was still really awesome. So in at number 5 is the first Spider-Man movie from Tobey Maguire, and I just feel like when this movie came out, it literally did change the movie landscape and really did put comic book movies in the mainstream audience's sphere, and I just feel like this movie just changed so many people's perspectives on that genre, which I feel like was absolutely brilliant. Obviously, Tobey Maguire was phenomenal as well in the role of Peter Parker and with Spider-Man. I mean, I do prefer Andrew Garfield, but the only reason that I put this movie higher than Amazing Spider-Man is just that the villain, played by Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, and Norman Osborn was just so superior. So brilliant, so layered. I love how they grew both the villain and the hero simultaneously. So you're really with both of these characters, and I just feel like the journey that they all went on was just absolutely brilliant. These trio of movies from Sam Raimi are really, really strong. Even though the third one wasn't as brilliant as the other two were, it was just such a brilliant suite, and I just feel like Tobey Maguire did such a good job in his first outing as the Webheads. So in at number 4 is a wicked movie, Spider-Man Far From Home. This was such an enjoyable movie. It totally smashed it in the box office. Really interesting that they placed this movie after Endgame, so you can really see the aftermath of Tony Stark's death, specifically on the Peter Parker character, which I just thought was absolutely brilliant. And also traveling to Europe was really, really interesting. Opening the concept of the multiverse, even though it wasn't the true multiverse, was really, really great too. And also I feel like Mysterio was just such a wicked villain. Quentin Beck, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, was so awesome. And the rivalry / mentorship that suddenly went dark and went into the villain sphere was just so mind-blowing, and you could really feel connected with the Peter Parker character when he was just so disappointed and broken from finding out the truth. And also the reveal at the end of this movie really was super shocking. I remember the whole world was so shocked when Peter Parker's identity was revealed to the MCU's universe. So amazing, and I just feel like this movie therefore deserves a really high space in this list. So we're at the top 3 now. So in at number 3 is Spider-Man 2, arguably one of the best superhero movies ever made. Absolutely brilliant. I loved all of the mind-block psychological perspective that they were giving this character. A brilliant villain, especially after Norman Osborn's Willem Dafoe Green Goblin character. I thought, how are they going to top this? But Alfred Molina totally stepped up to the plate, and his Doc Ock was so good. So many horror moments with this character. And I remember that train sequence when it first ever came out really did take the whole world by storm and really was impressive. I mean, some of the CGI doesn't stand up as well today, but still is amazing when you do watch it. And the thing that I really love about Tobey Maguire's iteration of Spider-Man is that he is the most relatable, and I just feel like this guy is trying to balance everything and is really struggling to do so. And I just feel like from a relatability point of view, that was just so brilliant, as you can really feel and understand all of the burden that this guy is under. And actually he was thinking that actually I'm not going to bother being Spider-Man and I'm just going to focus on my life as Peter Parker. And just the fact that he was losing his powers because of all of his brain stuff, I just thought it was so interesting. And then at the same time, we have Harry Osborn after him. We have him losing Mary Jane. We also have the villain Doc Ock there. It was just so many brilliant things, trying to do quite a lot, but I feel like they balanced it brilliantly. And this movie just threaded its narrative so well. So in at number 2, I believe this is going to be another really controversial one, but I put Amazing Spider-Man 2 in at number 2, as I just absolutely love this movie. I think this one is so underrated. Like I said, Andrew Garfield is my favourite Spider-Man, my favourite Peter Parker, and one of my favourite actors. And I just feel like his iteration in this movie was just absolutely awesome. They took the first movie and just made it 10 times bigger and darker. And I actually really, really like what they did with Max Dillon. Jamie Foxx did such a good job in terms of playing a villain that you can really sympathize, empathize with, and understand that this guy has been totally rejected by society, and when he does get the opportunity to be superpowered, unfortunately he uses it in a bit of a wrong way. But you can just totally understand and see where this villain is coming from, which I thought was absolutely incredible. And then you also have Harry Osborn, who is dying, and he is asking his best friend to help him, asking Spider-Man to help him, and he just feels really, really rejected and goes down a bit of a darker path, and then just causes the death of Gwen Stacy. And like I said, the Gwen Stacy and Peter Parker relationship was just so brilliantly acted by Andrew Garfield and with Emma Stone. There were some awesome sequences as well in this movie. For example, when Peter Parker is trying to help Gwen Stacy escape from Oscorp. Speaking of Oscorp, that was just such a dark place, and you could just see that they were easily able to have so many movies just dedicated to this crazy organization. I just feel like this movie was so brilliant, so underrated. The visuals were absolutely outstanding. And I just feel like also the mystery surrounding his parents is really, really powerful too. Such a wicked way to open up this movie with that brilliant plane sequence. And I just feel like this movie was so good. And I'm still, to this day, devastated that we didn't get an official Amazing Spider-Man 3, as it could have literally been one of the best movies ever. And I just feel like Andrew Garfield and all of the other actors in this space were just so brilliantly chosen. And I also think Felicia Hardy could have been absolutely phenomenal as well. I just feel like this universe, they were building so many wicked things and it had so much potential. so in at number 1, absolutely needs to be Spider-Man No Way Home. Just a legendary movie, literally in another league of its own. Just totally smashed it. I thought the multiverse aspects were really, really cool. Doctor Strange is just such an MVP himself and was just so brilliantly working with all of the other characters here. I loved all of the conversations I was having with all of the different characters, for example in his wizard dungeon, with the trio and his battle with Spider-Man being trapped in the mirror dimension. Everything about this movie was just so brilliant, and the fact that they brought all of the legendary villains from all of the other movies and they didn't rewrite any of it, they celebrated what went on beforehand and just brought it all into here, and everything just worked and meshed together so well. And of course, seeing the 3 Spider-Men together was just absolutely incredible. So funny, literally everything you would have wanted from this movie and more. They just totally delivered, and it was just so brilliant and literally did wrap up the Homecoming trilogy so well. And I'm just so excited to see what on earth is going to happen in the future, given that everyone has now forgotten the existence of Peter Parker, which is just going to be absolutely incredible, and I just feel like the future is really, really bright. So that is my ranking list for all of the 9 Spider-Man movies that have been released so far across live action and animation. I mean, all of these movies are absolutely incredible. I mean, they're super, super enjoyable, absolutely brilliantly acted. Everything that happens in them is really, really cool, really, really compelling, excellent character arcs. All of the visuals are absolutely outstanding. And I just feel like it's such a brilliant time to just be a fan of the webhead, as everything is just looking absolutely incredible. I told you my list was going to be a little bit controversial, but now I'd love to hear from you. What is your top 9? So please let me know in the comment section below. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in my next video.